So, session is going to focus on the utility of forensic science in legal matters. Information. My career have been starting with forensic science laboratory, government of Maharashtra at different level, and reaching the director's post. After my retirement, I was a key person to start with the Institute of Forensic Science in Mumbai, Nagpur, and Aurangabad under Higher Education Society Department of Government of Maharashtra. Right now, I am an academic council member of Gujarat Forensic University, now National Forensic University, and a chairperson and CEO of Helic Advisory, taking forensic to common people. I was also the Senate member of Mumbai University, and that is how I am keenly involved in academics, and I'm also a guide for a PhD students. Now, coming to what are we going to see today? Today is going to be totally focused on how forensic can help the legal matters. Just to give a simple idea of what forensics are, it's a Latin word which says open debate in the open court, a debate in the open court. In short, the forensic is the application of various physical and social sciences to provide scientific evidence to court of law. As all of us know, in India, the burden of proof is on prosecution, and the different type of the evidences normally is direct, indirect, circumstantial, or corroborative. So most of the scientific evidences are, some of them are direct, definitely, and some of them are corroboratives. So what are the nature of the evidences we have? We have physical material, we have human, then right now the major one which is there is virtual one. Forensic has been earlier only a post-event science which used to do the analysis of the post-event crimes and give scientific evidences in the court of law. But of late, it has taken lot of other domain, like now academic have started because there are not much focused forensic institute in our country. Then forensic experts need to teach all the people who are using forensic like. So all of us know forensic science are used by the judicial officers, advocates, and of late, not only ours, all the public sector like banking, insurance, income tax, ED, GST, everyone requires forensic services. So, how do we train these people how to use it and what are the implication of this? So that is how academic is taking up a very big place right now. As it is always said, preventive is better than cure. So, what is preventive forensic? This has taken place like Dr. Vyas, myself, Dr. Rao, we have been always stressing upon we should pay more attention to preventive forensic science, which shows how a crime which has occurred can be stopped. It is known well in legal matter, one case convicted stops 10 crime. So we say one crime prevented stops 10 crime. So preventive forensic is taking a place a big way in averting crimes, be it at domestic level or in corporate level or heinous crime or whatever it may be. Now we call this social or rural forensic science, which is taken up like, as all of us know in our country, the forensic science was only restricted to government forensic laboratories. So if a common man who wants just something which he wants to get it done faster without approaching the government, it was not possible. But of late, many of the private players have come up and who are providing forensic services of good quality, but they need to be channelized definitely. So this type of forensic, which is taking social cause and the civil cause, can be, and the rural cause, we can call them as forensic, social forensic, and it is giving a big scientific support to the security of the masses and the organization also. So now, how is the forensic report considered in legal issues? The forensic reports are admissible in the court of law under the Indian Evidence Act 1872, which under section 45. Of course, there are after that many of these have been modified, and further versions are there. So, in this, the definition of an expert is a person who is having the knowledge about the subject, who has skill to do the analysis and present his results in the court of law. So, that is how it is under section 45, where the forensic reports are admissible. Now, there is another section called 293, which states that the scientific report of any government's forensic scientist will be taken as an evidence and they may not be summoned in the court of law. This has a big history, like the first director of our country, Dr. Mahal, was there, who used to sign all the cases in those days. And it so happened that every day he was called in the court, because any document submitted in the court, the person is called for testifying it. So then finally it came ki if I stand in the court, how my lab will run, how a scientist can work if the full day if he is there in the court. So finally it was decided for all the government scientific forensic reports, they need not be called only as and when the court feels a scientific explanation is required, then only he should be called, and under section 293 that coverage is given. Now, all of us know there have been a radical change in forensic as per the nature of crime. You know, the technology, any development in the technology, it is the criminal who uses it first. Then we as a scientist run after him to see how he has used it and what type of analysis I can carry out by a standard SOP so that it can stand in the court of law. So this is how forensic develops. Depending upon the type of the crimes, we have to develop our own scientific methods. Earlier, it was just question document, fingerprints, biology, toxicology, ballistic, prohibition, chemistry, physics, and other things. And forensic medicine, initially, which normally does the postmortem and send whatever human organs are required to be tested for the presence of poison and vaginal and other in rape case and other things, and do some pathological testing, anthropology and odontology testings. Now, all of these have changed as per the nature of the crime. So right now, what are the different changes which has come in forensic is like forensic psychology has been taken as a corroborative evidence in collaboration with the physical evidences. Then digital forensic is playing the major role because no crime is without any digital device right now. Forensic auditing. Most of the corporate, I think, are involved in forensic auditing issues. Then you have wildlife forensics, where all this poaching and everything can be handled by doing DNA and other things. So that is how, depending upon the nature of the crime, the forensic scientists have to invent methods by the new technology so that it has a foolproof scientific reports. Now, what is forensic actually? It's a multidisciplinary science. It is not only chemistry, physics, or this thing. It is like when a crime occurs, what is the article? Depending upon that, that particular science has to be applied. If it is just physical comparison, it is physics. If it is chemical analysis, it's chemical. If it is biological material, then biology comes. When if it is anything to do with the teeth and other thing, odontology comes. If it is something to do with civil crime, then auditing comes into picture, and so many things. Now coming to how the scientific evidences are of great importance, because it throws light on the actual incident occurred. It directly links the crime with the criminal, fixes up the place of offenses, enlightens the mode of operandi. What is important is mode of operandi, which can really throw on the group who is working on it, or repeatedly whether they are doing it, who is behind it, so many information when you know the mode of operandi. It established the fact by scientific evidences and cannot be denied in any court of law. It is not time related. All of us know there have been cases like after ages, the DNA is either proved wrong and innocent has been unnecessarily being in the jail, or actual person has not been convicted properly. So many things. So it is not time related. So, having such features, it's a very authentic tool in the hands of the law enforcement agency and the judicial office. Now, what are the principles of forensic science? Now, forensic science, as it provides scientific evidence for the detection of the crime, the science is based on the principle of comparison of the articles. It always compares the article with each other. And the famous law under which it is Locard's principle of exchange. When two objects comes in contact with each other, they always leave a trace on each other. So this is how a criminal can be connected to the crime by the contact trace. It can be also connected to the victim, and the victim can be connected to the crime scene and the criminal. So it is a very important feature where you have connectivity to the crime, criminal, victim, and the crime place. Normally, the forensic laboratory in the country sets procedure for collection of evidential value from the scene crime, hands over to the investigating people. After Panchanama, the articles are sealed, labeled, and sent to the government forensic laboratory for analysis. The officer in forensic laboratory maintains chain of custody, follows the standard approved methods for analysis in line with the standard operating procedures, and issues forensic reports of the case. All the evidential value articles falls under different act depending upon the nature of the crime, like petroleum product. If it is for adulteration, theft, or whatever it is, it comes under Petroleum Act. Cement, same. If it is adulterated or it is theft or whatever it is, it comes under Cement Act. Then gun and other shooting and ammunition falls under Arm Act. And then narcotic drugs, all of us know have NDPS Act. Then possession of liquor, drunken driving, everything falls on the Bombay Prohibition Act. It also extends to whole states of the Maharashtra. So it is like Act and the criminal IPC are depending upon the nature of the crimes and the article also involved. Prior to 1980, crimes were involving computer were dealt with using existing law. The first computer crime was recognized in 1970 in Florida, where computer crimes and a separate law was made. So this is how over the few years every country have their own law for cyber crimes like cyber bullying, cyber stalking, online this thing, child pornography and other things. So in modern age, it is very difficult to imagine a crime which does not involve a digital dimension. Most of the white collar crimes use technology to facilitate their offenses and then avoid apprehension, creating new challenges for the lawyers, for the investigating agents, forensic examiners, and corporate security. Now, what is the actual procedure laid down? Resource and procedure are needed for effective identification, seizure, authentication. Now, whenever I see something, I need to authentify that. Then only I need to acquire it, do the analysis by standard procedure, do the reporting, and preserve the samples as and when required by the court be submitted to it. And the same thing follow for all electronic evidences. This evidences may range gist from image of pornography or encrypt data used in varieties of criminal activities. All forensic digital cases falls under the Information IT Act 2000, and certification under 65B of the Indian Evidence Act 1872. So, what exactly is the procedure? You have to have the evidence exchange, evidence characteristics, chain of custody, evidence integrity and authentication, forensic science validation by the standard operating procedure, reporting, preservation, and court presentation. So these are the components in a forensic laboratory which has to be followed. Now, chain of custody, what is it? It's a very important aspect because authentication is maintaining and documentation for the chain of custody. So the sample which is collected at the scene crime is the same one which is used for the analysis and the same one which is presented in the court of law. So this is what a chain of custody. So in this, normally the procedure is minimum people handle it so that if required by the court, not many people have to go and certify there. So in chain of custody, you have to really mention what type of the sample it is, how the seal was when the investigating people have sent to the laboratory, and while I open it in the report also it is mentioned what type of sealing was there, how many exhibits were there, what container was it, how much it was weighing, and so on and so much, depending upon the different type of the cases. Without a chain of custody, it may really create a doubt in the mind whether it is the same exhibit which has been used for the analysis, which was collected from the scene crime, and whether it was intentionally changed, tampered, or contaminated, and so many other things. So, chain of custody is one of a very important factor which has to be considered in forensic analysis. Now, this 65B of Indian Act 1872 for the electronic records are very important because here you have to furnish the particular of the device involved. If it is a hard disk, how much it is, what is the make, what is the size, how much is the hash value, and other things have to be certified by the responsible officers. And the person who first acquires it need to certify, and he has to certify that this is to his best of knowledge and belief, and it has to be produced along with the report. Now, coming to what are the different setup of the forensic in the country, we have a central laboratory at Delhi, then government central laboratory, the CBI laboratory at Delhi, and central laboratories at Hyderabad, Kolkata, Chandigarh, and Simla, Hyderabad, and Kolkata. Kolkata has two central laboratories. QED is that question document, and the regular one also. So every state have their own forensic laboratory with the head office in the capital of the state and regional laboratory. Now in Maharashtra, you have Mumbai laboratory as the head office. Then you have at Nagpur, Pune, Aurangabad, Nasik, Amravati, and one started in Kolhapur also, covering the different districts which you see here. So actually, all the forensic laboratories were in such a pathetic condition that somewhere in 80s and 90s, government of India has thought of giving modernization fund to improve the scientific institutes where evidential values are analyzed. So Justice Malimat was the chairperson. Honorable Justice Malimat used to decide. So we forensic scientists were given only 2% of the modernization fund, like 200 crores. If it is sent to Maharashtra, we will get only 2 crores. So that is how it was decided. So then we fought a lot, telling them what is the importance of a forensic, independent forensic report in the court of law. Then Justice Malimat was good enough to increase it to 20%. Then onward, many of the states were really having modernization of the whole structure. Like you see this lab of Mumbai, which is analytical and biological grade at par with international levels, completely having all the infrastructures and all the equipments uh, latest equipment which can handle uh, even the trace of the sample analyzed in a nice way. So, what are the different type of work which is carried out right now in Mumbai and the regional laboratory? We have a toxicology laboratory, biology with DNA and other things, chemistry which deals with explosive, narcotic, petroleum product, physics with physical comparison of like glass comparison or retrieval of the number plate or the engine number, and so many other physical examinations are done. Prohibition again with the liquor, then content of the liquor in the foreign content of alcohol in the foreign liquors, and ballistic completely doing all ammunitions and comparison of the guns and the ammunitions and other things. Then we have the psychological testing like brain electrical oscillation signature profiling, which is like brain testing, then polygraph, then narco test, then you have a speaker identification, then cyber forensics, mobile forensic lab, and so many. All new techniques are there. Regional laboratories have the classical ones, and some of them have also started with the new techniques. So these are the different type of equipments used for all high-end testings case, as all of us know, 93 blast. That's 12 places within an hour it was blasted. So this had really a very pathetic thing on me, because I could really, that night I was at Bombay hospital because my brother was to be operated, and I saw all the body with the some without limbs and whatnot and whatnot. Then only I came to know that such an things are happening, and one by one, every explosion was coming within a few seconds. Another big explosion at this place, another big explosion at that place, and so much. Complete analysis was carried out under my supervision. Now you see, these are these engine parts. The very, as I said, mode of operandi gives a good impression of whether the same group has been operating it. In every case, about 20 kg of RDX was placed along with such cast iron here you see, which was an one unexploded scooter case. About 200 such cast iron was there, and near the engine, in a suitcase, 20 kg of RDX, having 200 of such cast iron, and a pen timer was there. So pen timer is a military device in which you have a pen. In the first half, you have a glass containing sulfuric acid, which is in tension with then a copper wire. The moment you pinch that, the glass capsule breaks, the sulfuric acid comes in contact with the copper and the tension is released. It goes and hits the detonator. For detonator, they use mercury fulminate and lead azide, which are very sensitive. These high explosive like RDX, LNT, and other things, if you burn, nothing happens. If you hit, nothing happens. Only if you detonate it, which gives a very high explosive effect in a very small time. So that is what is required, and this goes and detonates the explosive, and the explosion takes place. And when the explosion takes place, and if like these cast irons are there, every cast iron will act much more damage than any bullet, like 200 at a time. So that is how it was such a like uh, situation where we cannot control. The number of death was so heavy, the injury was so heavy, and only because we could get this unexploded, we could completely get the mode of operandi. Then in all the cars which were there, we could see which was the one which was the actual car used, because this cast iron going from inside to outside has a different pattern than piercing from outside. So that is how we could give them a complete picture of which car it was. And all the 11 cars were purchased by the same person. Its RTO could say who were there. So that is how every pointer went to the actual culprit. So this complete report was at par with the Interpol, and after that there were some 200 tons of RDX recovered from Srivardhan, and its profiling was done, and our reports were same as Interpol, and I was invited to the Interpol to discuss this case. So it's a very big case where we could do. We worked for nearly 3 months. My whole team worked without break for 3 months to give the thing, like all the explosive which were there were having RDX TNT, hand grenades were having TNT and GNC, and the identification of the vehicle, and then the unexploded scooter at Naigaon, Dadar. So all these gave such a good clue of the person and the similarity of the mode of operandi. All these gave, and investigating officers could really come to a conclusion with a very strong scientific report. And this is how, like, forensic report helps the people. So I will hurriedly go only because these are pictures which I need to show to you. This was in 2003, where 12 deaths were there and 71 at Mulund train blast. And this was the bus one, which is at Ghatkopar, where very simple combination of only ammonium nitrate and sugar was used. So this all shows they really had good chemists who could guide them what type of chemical should be used, which can also cause, in absence of high explosive like RDX and other things. This is potassium chloride sugar mixture at Parle market, and this is again this is RDX at your Mumba Devi twin blast at Taj, near Taj and Mumba Devi, just in front of DG office. You can see the vehicle in which it was kept, how it was damaged. So these are the things. What could we get? It was like RDX. The death was 44 and 150, and we could show them how was the mode of operandi. Then again, this blast on the train, 7 placed within 11 minutes, and you can see the extent of the. Here again, because they were short of RDX, they used petroleum product, ammonium nitrate, and they could get the same impact which would have been if completely RDX was used. So in these, doing the extensive work of what are the external things in the scene crime, how is the damage, where is the maximum damage, where they have placed the actual device, all those things we could indicate to the investigating officer. This is again the Malegaon, where again RDX, petroleum product, and ammonium nitrate was used. Now, this famous 2611, where RDX actual persons were involved in creating this and shooting so many of them. So you can see how the damage was there in the Taj and Trident and other places. So this is for the picture's sake. I'm just showing you again. You can see how the impact of the shooting is there. In this again, we could give a very good. And to tell you all that, we are also at par with all these research papers were presented at international conference at Paris, Hong Kong, and very well appreciated about the method we have used. So what all we can reveal is the presence of RDX, the electronic server circuit which could give the date and the time when the blast occurred, CCTV footage, clear picture of all the terrorists, GPS link analysis indicated the border country being involved in it. All these could internationally stand and prove that how the neighboring countries are involved in all these activities. So this is again one Nigerian carrying this brown sugar capsule. One of it broke and he was fainted. So we could get all these, and such type of cases are done in a very important and important cases and very emergency, because we cannot hold the passengers, and you can see how he was carrying it in his stomach, but one of it broke and he swooned down. This is again a very important case where hit and run. He was only given 3 months, but after our media people saying that the forensic laboratory shows 112 milligram percent of alcohol, and it cannot be he was a drunken driver and he has created so much of and like there was death in this particular case. So that is how the whole case was opened by the High Court, and then the punishment was furthered. Now we will just concentrate on what are the important feature, like methods and techniques which are very useful for the legal matter. So all of us know this deoxyribonucleic acid, which is called as DNA, is a blueprint of life, and DNA is made of double strand consisting of sugar-like acids, and these nucleus are formed of chromosome. Now, each nucleated cell normally has 46 chromosomes, and all of us know 23 from each of our parents, father and mother, is given to us along with X and Y of the sexual determinations. Now, DNA is called as a UID, unique identification, because the DNA of one person cannot be the same as the other person in the global. The probability is 10 to the power 16, whereas our population right now is 10 to the power 12 to 13 only. So till now it is like that, except for like twins. So that is how DNA fingerprinting is a unique technique which can be used in many type of crimes. So what are the type of articles which are normally used in DNA analysis? It is blood, semen, vaginal fluid, saliva, bone marrow, tissue, teeth, amniotic fluid, hair roots. So mainly any of such biological uh, thing which are present in the scene crime can be of helpful for connecting the crime. How does the DNA molecule looks like? Somewhat like this it looks. Then you do the pairing like that of the 23, and this is the pairing of the chromosome in human cell. So every cell has the same DNA from the birth to the death. It never changes. So after analysis, how do you get the pattern? You get the loci like this, and you compare the loci and say, particularly in a murder case, if a suspect is there, his blood and the blood at the scene crime is compared and seen whether how many loci of it matches. In a rape case, suppose the vaginal swab contains some of the DNA present of the suspect, then we say this is the person who has really raped or whatever the issue is. So that is how comparison is very important. Now, Helig Jaffrey is the father of forensic DNA, and he was present in Mumbai laboratory, and he was really happy when we started, and we started with very high profile cases using DNA. So this equipment is known as analyzer, genetic analyzer, and they are very costly. Somewhere in 90s and 2000 itself, it used to cost nothing below 70 lakhs, 80 lakhs and all. So these all equipments are bought under the modernization funds and used. So what are the different type of cases we can do? We can do rape cases, disputed paternity, mainly used for the family court, then murder cases, identification of remnants. So I still remember in Delhi when there was a disaster. So there were about a 4 kilometer long queue for claims of the kings. Then we declared that we are going to do the DNA. Hardly 5 to 10 people remained. So that is how it can authentify the person to whom the claim can be given. Then there was another case in which man burnt his wife and he went and complained that his wife is missing. For so many days, the investigating people were going about. Somehow they felt why not have a look at near his house, and they found some remnant of burning there, some human bones and other things. And luckily they could get some this Indian women wear toe ring. That ring was found and it was containing some skin. So we could do the DNA and compare with the children and found that person was the biological mother of the children. So the whole case could be really reopened, giving a different picture after the scientific analysis. So that is how DNA plays very important role. Without eyewitness in rape cases, you can imagine conviction in Sahara Airport within 8 months, then conviction in that Jaipur foreign case within 6 months, only DNA report. Then this Vijay Joshi gang rape of Ahmedabad, which is a very famous case where DNA was this, and the mentally retarded case, Khopali case, and so many other cases. So how do we go about with it? We do the extraction of the DNA, purify it, quantify it, polymer chain reaction and amplify it, and then do the separation and sequencing, analysis and interpretation. So this is how completely it can be used for sexual offense, murder case, missing person, victim identification, paternity determination, immigration, DNA of microbes of the soil. This is very important. Another thing which we did along with the um, UK FBI scientist, and this was used when the RDX was carried from Aurangabad to Mumbai. On the way, the police could seize it, and there was soil there, and the suspected place from where it was bought, and we could do the DNA of the microbes and say it is the same place from where it was being transported for the explosion of the train, and that is how all the RDX was seized by the police, and they had to use a different combination for the explosion. So DNA is finding a lot of place like DNA in wild element poaching, unique identification of individuals. Now I gave a proposal to government of Maharashtra regarding this. You know there are a lot of fake caste certifications and other things. There also we can really do DNA unique identification and get that profiling, or even a fingerprint analysis and do the UID, so that such fake certificates are not used for jobs and academic purposes. So this is some picture of the Sandhya Singh, where the son himself, because of some money issues, killed his mother and dumped her body in some forest. When a foreigner was tracking, he could get it, and after 6 months, we could do the DNA and conclude the case. This is Laila Khan case where the stepfather killed all the children and put them the body into the well, and they wanted to know whether she was also do. So we did the DNA and the facial features also to find out whether Laila Khan was also there. The scientific. So this is Dr. Bruce, who was with us for a project of this DNA of microbes, which in soil, which I was mentioning. So interaction with international people and finding out what they are doing and what we are doing helps a lot in carrying out R&D in case-related case of forensic. Now, wildlife is taking a big way in DNA because right now our country is in the process of forming a library for all the DNA of all the animals which are present in India so that we can easily do a comparison in case of poaching and theft and other crimes related to wild animals. So here the individual matching tissue samples from illegal kill site and associated with the DNA fingerprinting can be done. And then uh, even in this cow, whether it is any other animal, those type of testing can be done. Now, coming to forensic psychology, of late this is playing a very important role, and mainly like polygraph, layered voice analysis, narco analysis, brain profiling, psychological profiling, criminal profiling, and we have done lot of cases, and mainly in this family court cases, this evaluation of this genuine this thing and counseling helps a lot. So, how is this standing in the court of law? They are corroborative evidences, but not a direct evidences as we have seen. So, we'll see some of the cases which we can see now about the lie detector. What does it do? See, a human being is a normal person. His brain is functioning fine when everything is normal. The moment you try to tell a lie, it is going against certain of the features which the brain doesn't. The cognitive center starts reacting. In that particular reaction, what happens? There are changes in blood pressure, respiration, skin, electrical condensations, and some changes occurs. These changes are very typical, which can be measured. So how do we do this? So normally we have some electrodes which are put, and then you have a computerized lie detector wherein you can start with the normal questioning of what is your name, what do you do, and normalize the person, then come to the event which you want to really see whether the lying has been done by the suspect. Then you can see if he is innocent, there are no changes in this. So all the three parameters are compared and you can see how the changes occurs if he is guilty. So this is very typical about every person. And once we explain to them what has happened, then they try to confess and say why that particular crime they have committed. Like in many of the cases, they give a written confession to the scientist. So that also stands in the court of law very well, along with the lie detector. So this is how it is a corroborative evidences which has given breakthrough in many cases. Now this brain mapping or brain electrical oscillation, this is again a very good technique where you have electrodes here and you relate the same way. First a normal questioning and normal probes are given, then about the event, and in the event if they have seen it, there are different type of features, and if they have really taken part in the act of doing that crime, then the activity is different. So we can even distinguish between a person who has seen a crime, a person who has committed a crime, and this is again a corroborative evidence in the court of law. And many of such cases have been solved by us. This is again another very good technique, whereas in these two cases, you require written consent from the individual for doing the cases. And if the person is suspected, arrested, then court order is required for doing psychological testing. But if he is not arrested, then only a written consent is enough to do lie detector. So for all the three psychological testing, if a person is arrested, you require a court order for doing this testing. And this layered voice analysis is a technique where you don't require any concern. This is like mainly used in corporate in other places for interviews or if you have in-house issues and all in many of the foreign countries, here what happens is the voice analysis is done to find out a person is under stress or any cognitive process changes are there or any emotional reaction is there. It gives anomaly in the brain activities and classify in the terms of stress, excitement, deception, varying emotional. Like when you are taking an interview, and if a person is exhausted and not actually clearly giving a complete actual picture of his experience or his qualification, you can easily get a change in the layer voice analysis. Or behavioral changes also can be analyzed by this. So these are like, a guiding factor in many of the corporate offices to find out a person is really to the sticking to the facts or he's not sticking. So this is how the equipment looks like, and you get the analysis done here. Now this is a case where female of 39 year was referred for forensic psychology seeking help to missing jewelry. This is a very sensitive type of case where the husband was not paying much attention to the lady, and she was close to one of the swimming pool instructor. So that fellow started taking the advantage and had a relation with them and started asking for all the gold ornaments and so many things. She used to hand over everything to him. And finally, when it came to the notice of the husband, he was totally like very angry with her and wanted to know what was the factual things. So after doing the lie detector, we found the facts were clear, and then we advised the husband to see this is a case of extramarital relationship, no doubt, but emotionally she has been blackmailed by that person. So it all depends whether you want to excuse her and do some martial counseling and resolve the issue, or you want to divorce her or whatever it is. So finally, after our advice, they did counseling and she was brought back to the family. So sometimes we feel it is in the society how things happen. We can really throw good light. Had it not been a scientific thing, it would have been very difficult for the girl's parents also to believe it. But the situation was very clear because of the scientific report. Now, again, here the reverse was there. The husband was suspecting the lady is having an affair. And finally, when we saw in the lie detector, she was more engaged in certain activity which he felt the behavior is changes there, so that is why she's having it. But lie detector could throw a picture and the family could be back to the normal. So likewise, many of the family issues also, this lie detector has helped a lot. Now, in big cases like this serial murder by the controller, this lie detector and the narco and all the combination helped a lot. Now, this Aditya, I will just give you the complete picture. So many of the murder case and just now, as we have seen, whichever DNA we do, we also do the lie detector and brain mapping depending upon this fake uh, Telgi case is an important case where lie detector, narco analysis, and the brain mapping was of great importance to actually correlate the whole type of cases which he was doing along for such a large number of years throughout India. So I think that case everyone of you all must be remembering, but this scientific corroborative evidences could throw more light on complete mode of operandi. Now this is that Aditya Sharma. It's a girl from Kashmir who was having already a boyfriend there, and she joined this symbiosis in Pune and was friendly with another boy. And these two persons want to get rid of that boy in Srinagar. So they called him, and the girl gave him prasad with arsenic in it. So he vomited, and after some time, he died. His viscera showed the presence of arsenic. But as the girl was the first one to go and report, it was going around and around. And as usual, the investigating people started with who was the last person with her hair, the suspect. So they found that girl was the last one. They started investigating, and then they bought her for lie detector. So in the lie detector, there was deception. We did narco and we did even brain mapping. All of them were indicating her presence in the activity. Finally, she said she was the one, and her handbag contained traces of arsenic. Then she showed the place where she bought that fellow identified. So the whole scientific connectivity could be done by the corroborative evidences of lie detector, narco analysis, and brain mapping. So this is how this complete conviction took place, along with the physical evidence of the arsenic in the viscera and the bag, and the shopkeeper identifying the lady, along with the psychological evaluations. So its judgment by Honorable Fansalkar Madam runs for the scientific evidences. Nearly 10 to 12 pages she has covered describing this. I think if you all happen to see the judgment, you all can read it. This is again a case where how innocent teacher was honestly being tortured by a girl because he was very strict, and he was not allowing her to take advantage of her status or whatever it is. So she started, he is trying to rape me and he raped me and all those things. Then the minor girl. So then the teacher, the organization and the college was very sure the teacher is not that type. So he was asked to undergo the polygraph examination. And this was like in the Helic Beach private, not a police case. And no deception was found there by clearing him. When the parents were told that, then the girl confessed that because he was scolding her and not giving any importance to her, she blamed him. So this is how these scientific things can really acquit innocent person or convict a real suspect. Now coming to other very important matter like document analysis. These are of great importance in legal matter, as all of us know. It's letter, wills, agreement, marriage certificates, all of them have importance, and changes in this regularly happen for individual benefits or organization benefits and whatnot. So, and main flow in family court where divorce and other things occur, the authenticity of the documents as well as written things plays very important role. Now, question document examination is another very important section in forensic where we do the legal analysis for the legal matters, and do the comparison of the handwriting, document, and whatever is involved in any type of crime. So let us now go to what a question document is. If a signature is altered, handwriting, typewriting, or any source of authenticity is in dispute, then we can do the analysis. It can be like a contract, a letter, a ticket, a passport, driven license, driving license checks, photocopies and counterfeits, currency notes, and whatever it is. So the type of the frauds includes handwriting and signature, authorship. We will find out whether there is alteration, erasing, obliteration, and whether the computer prints also we can do the comparison, mechanical impressions, and so many other things we can do it. Now, as all of us know, handwriting is a learning process. It is also known as a brain writing also. because handwriting of two-person does not exactly tally with each other. So sometimes it is also known as a fingerprint, and that is how when you try to copy the signature of another person, somehow by the scientific means you can really find out how the fraud has happened, or you try to disguise, it can also be found out. So you will know what are the different 50 features a scientific person looks into. Though two signatures may look alike, but they may different. But sometimes two signatures might be having slight difference, but you feel it is different. But that is the only natural variation which is happening. So that is how we have to see what are the things which we compare. The first thing is skill level, how a person writes. The skill, usually educated people's writings are very skill levels are very high, whereas non-educated people's, because of their thing, their skill levels are low. Then, how are the slant? How do you? These are typical. It cannot be like you have a typical slant habit. It will. For if you want to try to do a mischief, first few lines you can maintain, but once you start writing, your brain doesn't allow you. It makes you do this habit which you have got. Then the forms, like how A are written in so many different forms. And it's very typical of each one of us. Then pen movement. Pen movement plays a very important role. How you connect E to M, N to T, and whatnot. Proportions. Now in B, the two loops, these are very typical, and everyone has their own typical way of writing it. Then heights. Where do you give T a height, and the particular uh, figures, how do you have the measurements for that? These are very typical of your behavior, and it will not change. And here again you will see how you dot it. Dotting of I, then T crossing, loops. How do you form the loops of D or whatever it is? What type of pressure you put while writing? Then baseline, some people write it is always on inclined or a declined way, or some are very particular to write in a straight line. So these are all typical your own habits which cannot change. How many people of us lift pen while writing? Some of them are frequent lifters, some are not that much. So all these can, and that is how you require comparison, and you require an admitted one and a disputed one to be compared. Speed, with which speed you are writing. Spacing, again spacing is again very, and so all these features, whichever you get, how you enter, how you exit a stroke, retracing, how do you retrace? Now, Y can be written by so many people in so many different ways. So all these, there are about 15 such features. Now, this is the disputed one, and this is the admitted one. Now, that's how we say quality is very important. More or less, the similar type is very important. If a signature nearby year is required, with year slight changes may occur, which are called as natural variations. But as such, we have to find the same type of words or that, so that whatever the loop formations are there, connecting formations are there, then how is the skill writing, the slope, all that has to be compared. So when you give two para of writing of disputed and admitted, some common features has to be there which are here, then only the comparison can be done. And then we have like standard methods, so many points should match, so much points should not match, then only we say the authorship is same or not. This again a case where many people try to decipher something by pouring ink or whatever it is. So such cases come to us where under different wavelength you can really see, because this absorbing of this ink and this ink is different, and you can remove this and read what is beneath it. So these are the important Telgi case where it was done by the very important equipments like VSC, visual spectrophotometry comparators. These are very costly equipments. Not only government laboratories do have it. There's simultaneous transmissions. So these type of analysis throw complete pictures, like in the stamp features. 30 features were compared in the from Mumbai Forensic Laboratory, and the Supreme Court was so happy that all the TLB cases were done only in Mumbai as far as the stand comparison was considered. So now this is again a handwriting dispute. So how do we do the comparison? This is disputed, this is admitted. So what you can see for a layman also, how the K connecting is going, whereas how the K is going here. How G loop is here, how G is here. You can see the elongation here, how it goes down and then take elongations. You can see the loop of L here. The formation of A is not here at all here properly. W is very different. So this is how this is R is there, how this here. So these type of complete featuring every word and its connectivity, its loop, its movement, and everything has to be taken. Like now, this is slightly going on the higher side, whereas this is slightly lower. So all these features has to be compared, and after we get the standard features, then only we will give the reports. So this is again different apparatus used for the comparison. Now for any document examination, as I said, alterations can be like erased. It can be physical erasure, normally by a razor or a blade or a knife, or it can be a chemical eraser where you can bleach the color and other things. Additions are there where uh, in many changes in the original document. Obliterations, again, you block certain things or you add things. So this can also be one of the way of alterations. Overwriting. So now you can see every case here. All this is the obliterations where you really do the scratching, but all that can be read by the equipments. Here there is an addition in some financial figure. You can see that how 9 is different. Here is overwriting. You can see it was only 33 rupees, which was made to 8840. Here in a medical thing, the BP was 170 by 90, it is made to 120 by 80. So this is how you can see how this is playing a very important role in all the field. Now coming to fingerprint, again a fingerprint is a unique thing, as all of us know. It is formed when a child is in the fetus itself. It remains till the last, and the type of the rigid and the pattern it forms is unique for everyone. I will just go hurriedly on this. So what are the thing? Arches, loops, and rules, and individual. All these features known as miniature. So it characterize. You have to quantify, characterize, position, and directional, and these type of things have to be looked into. Like it's a double loop one. This arch, this is a central pocket loop. Then you have delta. You have a different type of crossing. So you will see what are the types of analysis. We see the crossing core, bifurcation, then rigid, the island. You see only one. This is island, delta, pole. So for every individual, the combination of all these are different from the others. So that is how fingerprint forms a very important unique identifications, which can throw very much light in any. So what type of fingerprints you have? One, you can directly see it, a latent fingerprint or a physical print. Latent is normally when you have in the scene crime, you don't see, but if you throw some powder and other things, you can see it and then you lift that. Then this is a fingerprint. If you have touched the blood and you touch somewhere else and you get the fingerprints. So different type of fingerprints can be there. You can lift it and do the physical analysis. Lifting is normally done by this powder method or brush methods, iodine development, silver nitrate development, and there are so many different type of methods which you can use for, at the site. So this is how the mobile forensic van which carries the kit has all these equipments where you can lift the fingerprint from the scene of crime. So manual fingerprints are there. Then you have digital. Now everyone knows about digital fingerprints, which are normally used for Aadhaar card. Then live scan fingerprints. Then you have biometrics. So wherever you go nowadays, you have digital fingerprints which are to be compared. You have automated fingerprint identification system. Normally in big investigating thing, you can have a criminal tracing system also. Of late, Maharashtra was thinking to have it, facts they call it, fingerprint analysis of criminal tracing. So if you have the fingerprint of the criminals and if he happens to appear in somewhere else, you can share the data and you can compare and see that the same person is involved in what type other crimes. And so that is how the criminal tracing can be done. So this is again equipments for digital imaging of the fingerprints. So all these equipments are normally there in the laboratory for finding out. Now coming to digital forensics, as all of us know, it's playing the maximum. There is no crime where a digital device is not involved today. So digital forensic is playing a very important crime. It involves with the digital device, computer related data, email, texts, then software programming, then voice analysis, video clipping, then CCTV footage and whatnot. Anything which is involved with a digital device comes under this. So it can be cyber forensic, mobile forensic, speaker identification, tape authentication, and video. So I'm going to go little fast now because we have to cover little more. So what are the type of crimes which we are going to have? So these are some of the equipments where you can initially do the identification, normally extraction of the deleted, analysis, preservation, documentation as any other thing for the digital evidence. It is also in a legal way we have to do it. So the type of cases in which we could use its Malegaon blast, laptop and hard disk analysis could throw light to it. Then J. Doe, the journalist murder case, the mobile phone analysis and laptop could give connectivity. Kingfishers Airlines, BSNL case, then Indian Mujahideen cases. So many economic offense. Practically every case is related to digital only. And of late, even the family court has been totally changed from any document to all digital. Nowadays, every family court case comes with a mobile forensic where the voices are recorded or video analysis because the complete thing situation has been videoed and whatnot. So family court is also playing a very important role as far as digital devices are concerned. So what do we do normally? We do the identification, what are the devices which are involved in the crime, seize it, authentify it, acquire it, do the analysis by the standard procedure, then present in the court of law and preserve the samples. So how do you do the authentication? So for any digital device, the hash value is very important and hash value is found immediately and a forensic copy of the digital device is done for the analysis. We don't work on the main digital device at all. And again, keyword search, like you have to provide us with what are the things which you are looking into in economic crime or in a terrorist crime. So the investigating person need to tell us the events and what are the keywords they are thinking about. So by the moment we do the keyword analysis from the deleted file, you get all the matter which are related to that particular crime, and then connectivity can be given to the even in right now we were doing through my helic cases for the EOW and all. So even in economic crime, it's very important to know the whole event and give the keyword where you can retrieve the whole deleted files and the hidden files which are related to the particular offense, and then the connectivity comes. So keyword plays a very important role in all these analysis. Then authentication as like trustworthy of a digital analogs, tapes, or regular speech or video or whatever it is. So, authentication, audio or video, is very important to know if there is any editing or alteration. So, now in CCTV, like we do the frame by frame analysis, stabilize it, image enhancement. Then, even if a theft is done in the dark, you can enhance it and get the number plate or the person's facial impressions and other things. So, image morphing and other things. Completely, you have the tools, forensic tools, which can be used to do this type of analysis. Now, in authentication, now like if it is edited, you can get the break here, and that is how you can say whether it is an authentic or it is a nullified particular type of clippings are there. So you have to convert the analog signal into digital signal, critical whenever it comes to voice, critical listening, waveform analysis, spectrographic analysis, then frame by frame analysis. So these are the different type of the analysis which are carried out, and you can see here how in picture in a dark can be enhanced by the software, and you can read the detailing of the vehicle. Sometimes even the facial detailing can be had. This is again an important case where it was carrying some gold on this thing, Ganesh, Lord Ganesh and other idols, and it was a huge consignment uh, where the photo was taken, where we could actually do the analysis and get the number, and the police could immediately trace out the vehicle and retrieve all the consignment. So this is how you must be remembering in a case in one of the MLA was assaulting the police officer, and only the CCTV footage and Maharashtra Assembly was the evidence which could really give a complete picture of the situation. So this is how these CCTV footages play a very important role in giving breakthrough in cases. Voice analysis, again, as I said, voice is again a very unique thing of individuals, because when you really utter a voice, it passes through different organs of your body, like throat, shape of your face, lips, tongue, and so many other things. And that is how it makes a unique for every person. And voice analysis is again done by comparison. A suspected voice you have to have, and if you can get the sample, otherwise authenticated, again anywhere where the person has spoken can be compared. So this is how the waveform is formed of the voice, and you do the comparison. So as I said, in this gangsters and terrorist case, we could, and very good cases have been done in cricket matching offences, bribery cases, ransom, then collection of firearms, and so many. Wherever the voice has to be. And these are like, not a subjective one, it's a very objective type because it is totally scientific, and analysis reports are objective type. So this is how who has spoken one can easily find out. Now coming to mobile forensic, mobile nowadays is more a mobile. It is more than a computer where you have everything in it. Like and how are they? Like phone memory you have, then SIM memory you have, then the memory card you have. So these are the three places where all the data are stored. Then complete thing gives even phone location information, log calls information, text messages, picture images, video files, audio files, multimedia, emails, web browsing, documents, spreadsheets. Everything can be retrieved from the mobile when it is deleted, and you can solve many cases. I can give you some of the cases by this. This is again one case where we were a CB employee gave a false certification about the shares, and he could collect about 300 to 350 crores from the investors. This is again NRI lost about 4.6 lakhs in a bank by um fraud operation of a dormant account. So things which are happening are like mainly due to ignorance. You're again a bank agent normally who operates between customers who are not in a position to go to the banks. They get their signature in any of the documents without seeing the or senior citizen sign it, and these people do. And really, there have been so many cases where lakhs and lakhs of rupees have been uh, taken away. This is again, as I said, about, and we have done a lot of cases of this cricket match fixing and other things. So after meeting all these people, I could get an why not start a good grade forensic laboratory, and that is how HELIC I'm heading it. It is ISO and also certified as a research center by Gujarat Forensic University. We have document, handwriting, HELIC, fingerprint, and digital, psychological, personality, consultancy, and all. So here we are doing lot of cases for the government also, and for the public sectors, and for the corporate and individual. So family courts, lot of cases we are handling, then individuals also. Whatever I have seen in my service during my directorship, here I see very different type of cases. Like, so I really feel very happy helping out common people. And I would just say one case in which a joint family, one girl of the elder brother and boy of the second brother, they were having enmity because the boy was very good at study and the girl was not there, so comparison used to go. So that girl found what to do. She started abusing. He misbehaves with her, and there was a lot of tension. It's a big family of repute. So they didn't know what to do. They came to us and said, "What can we do?" So we told them, "See, why don't you just check with the lie detector? We will know both the children are above 18, and if they give consent and you all give consent, we will do lie detector on them." We did the lie detector, and we found that the boy was genuine and the girl was having deception. Then finally, we did a forensic counseling with her and asked her what was the reason. So then she confessed that this was the reason. So that reason was told to the family, and really means a big repute family which was to break could come together and really solve their issues. So many important cases we could solve, which by scientific way, we feel really very happy. There was one NGO where many of the people used to invest with them and crores and crores of money were kept in the first floor in a locker. So the in charge of that organization was an old man. So he used to send the mm, job boy who was there to go and keep in the locker and lock and bring it. So they came to know how much it was there. So someday, when that fellow was slightly not very attentive, these people opened and uh, took out money from that. And finally, when they had to return to the person, they found there was some quite a big amount missing. So they didn't know what to do. There were about 6 or 7 people working with them. So they came and told us. So I said, see, but they said we do not have so much money to do all this analysis. How do I go about? So I said, okay, I'll send my expert. I will help you out in a different way. We will say we are going to do scientific analysis like that. And if it comes true, then you all will be handed over to the police. So they were very curious to know what type of analysis we are going to do and all. Then we told them these are scientific analysis which are done like that, and whatever report comes, it's very true because in big cases it also have stood in the court of law and all. So you won't believe the next day all the amount was back in the locker. So the person said that really I understand the way you are helping the common people. Instead of saying that no, you have to do all the analysis, then only I'll help you out. Just by creating a fear in them, they could bring back and keep all the. So I was really very happy. I'm taking forensic to the common people in a very nice way so that it helps people. It's not that only that you have to charge everyone for everything, but if even if you can bring about the awareness of the science which can really create crime free society, I'll be really very happy. So this is again, I think I have must have said again. There is a multinational corporation where a lady was frequently harassed by their bosses. So we sent a word, why don't you do the recording and then give it to us, and then we can do the analysis. And on doing the analysis, we found how she has been. So then we could submit to the committee, and the whole committee could take action on the senior boss who was harassing her. So this type of in-house theft, then it's harassment and so many other things in big companies, in corporate offices and government offices occurs, and these can be easily resolved. Now they feel very scared to go to the forensic laboratory where you have to register in a police, make a police complaint, and it becomes public and it comes in the paper. It is real, and by that time it takes 5 6 months, sometimes years, and still you don't get it. So for this, if you have really authentic labs which can be really very confidential and do some good work for the society, that is the best thing we can do. I still remember one of the biggest company in the country. They had a issue of a group trying to steal their technology and give it to the other one, and they were very very skeptical that they should not hand over this to uh, police. So somehow by some senior police officer contact, they approached me and said, madam, will you do this, but we don't want anyone to know anything about it. I said, we will do it. Then he asked me, how do I go about? I said, see, you cannot pick up a particular group only because you think they are suspect. Let us do all the people in that particular group. Then he said, there are about 100 people. I said, I leave it to you. You decide what you want to do. He said, okay, I don't mind. So we did lie detector of 100 people, right from the director to the peon. And we got the complete group whom they were suspected in a very scientific way. We said, you should not talk to them. We will talk to them. And our scientists talked to them and said, see, these are what has come in the deception, and you all are the culprit. Now, what are you going to do? So they confessed. They give a written confession to us. We did this. So then we told the boss, "Ki, this is what has happened." So he said, "I'm so thankful to you. The thing, if I had said, they wouldn't have agreed, but they have agreed now. So I'm not going to do any punishment. I will give all the dues to them and ask them to get out from this area and not ever look into my company again." So the bad apples were removed, and again the company was flourishing. So this is the best way a company can do, is take out the bad apples rather than getting them harassed or not allowing them to confess and all. So these type of tests are very important for such type of. And after that, he has named us in so many cases. I was so happy. Whenever there is any issues where they don't want to call the police, we are called, and we do in a very confidential way all the scientific analysis and give a breakthrough in the situations. So again, this is a case where divorce had taken place between an engineer and a doctor, a renowned persons, but still that fellow was harassing her, and he had the checkbook of that lady, and he used to force the signature and withdraw money in installment. Over the year, that lady tried to break this relation and got married to another person, and they were living happily. And then she said, "I have a lot of money, we can invest in something." So when she saw it, she found that there was no money. About some 80 to 90 lakhs have been withdrawn in installments. So when the banker said that, whenever we asked for it, he used to say, "No, she is busy." So she asked me to get the money. She asked me to get the money. So we did not suspect anything. So the finally the signature of this thing, and the mobile conversation with the bankers, and his harassment to her, all this connectivity we could do, and the lie detector also. So the family court, complete retrieval of the money was done. So this is how, well, domestic issues, uh, which are very critical, but at the same time they feel very sensitive to go to police to get it solved. So this is again where a lady had some affair with the husband's friend, and she was denying, and all these we could retrieve from the SMS authentication, video authentications. When all the things were proved, then she admitted to it, and finally that fellow could get some relief from all these. Now, as I said, there are the institute which are now producing so many skilled ones. So the Institute of Forensic Science. So this is for your information. They have BSc Forensic Science and MSc Forensic Science, and you have in Mumbai, Nagpur, Aurangabad, and many places in India. So many of them. Then you have at Amity also, you have a good forensic unit. Then Gujarat, the National Forensic, now it is National Forensic University, which has a range of all forensic disciplines, so one can think about forensic study. Then we also have, I was the coordinator for the Judicial Academy for few of the years, and we used to regularly take lectures for all the law judges and mm, judicial. We have been always conducting lot of conferences for the judicial officers, so that unless they know completely what is forensic, the judgment is not going to be supported. So that's how we always took advantage of this. And many of the judges right now call me in their chambers and call me for many of the forensic issues. Mainly, Ranjana Desai, madam, always talk to me about so many things which she wants clarification. So that has been a privilege for me. Many of the judges used to be very, very close to us in regard to how to use forensic and all the, even in Supreme Court when narcotic drug thing was going on, we had a very good. Likewise, we always train the police also that they make good use of forensics so that they modernize the investigating methods. At the same time, we have to be in touch with all IIT, Baba Atomic Research Center to find out how is the technology moving and how we can use the best of the technology for the upcoming high-tech crimes. So this is again a very good center which I have started in Maharashtra Police Academy, Nasik, where all the forensic mm, uh, mm, availability, all the facilities availability, everything is put so that when they get trained, they should know how to use forensic in each and every cases. So we normally, as I said, Pansalkar madam is here. We had orientation courses and so many courses for the judges. This is the family court. Honorable Rao ma'am is there. So regularly we give lectures to judges and prosecutor. I also feel very happy to be with common people like Rotary Club people to take forensic to understand why. Like, if you remember what to do and don'ts. Like, one example I remember, a housewife was alone and some stranger comes and says he's an electrician and he says, unfortunately, he got an information that the geyser is not working. So he said, I've come to repair your geyser. So she feels it's true and she allows him in. And then he says, you have to hold the screwdriver near that geyser like this while I will check up the other things. Meanwhile, he made up all the things, whatever he could lay hand on, and he went away. So having common thing how to check who is authentic or not, or if you remember that Marine Drive's case where the girl was raped by a police constable. If the girl was aware ki, for any investigation of a lady police should be there and not a man should not be there. So this type of preventive type of things every person should know how I should do. Like nowadays in digital, any type of links you are not supposed to open because some of them will be malicious one and it may open out all your detailing to them and you may lose a lot of information and money also. So such type of clues from the cases we convey to the common people and try to see we give a lot of informations to this community and other places. So this is few of the this again with the chairperson of the women for Nirbhaya vans, which we are. So this is what that I said. Mobile van is very important because it carries a lab and all the kits on the spot. You can test a sample is proper or not. See, if I don't collect a proper sample and bring it to the laboratory, all my efforts of doing a good type of test and a good expert is not going to solve. So on the spot itself, I need to know what type of analysis I need to carry out and which is the proper sample. A bit of testing at the site will show me which sample I should collect. So this is how we go about with this mobile van. And recently, this is the laboratory which I'm heading, Helic Advisory. It has all the facilities of document examination. We have a very big wing of digital forensic. We are giving services to economics offense of the police, ED, then GST, all the this in government organization because all these economic offenses they require the results very fast and forensic laboratory because of short of staff they are not in a position, so they have formed a panel of people after interview and checking all our credentials and they tender it and we have to apply for it and we get it. So that is how so this is a fingerprint analysis which is going on. So likewise, this is a polygraph test going on in the lab. And lot of insurance companies, this fire cases we have solved. and it helps. Like there are cases where the insurance try to overdo some places, the organization give false impressions and try to collect more money from. So both we could solve in a very good way and tell them what is the cause of the fire and give a preventive. Like in one of the textile mill, they were keeping the transformer one near the other due to the heat and the spill of this, the spark burnt and completely the loom of crores and crores of rupees were burnt. So then we could identify how it happened and told them what is the reason and what precaution they should do, like how they should isolate the transformer from which gets heated during the process, how it should be isolated and kept and not kept near. Then there are many cases where due to the short circuit, the whole thing goes off. Sometimes like this is a overloading case where from a small phase they were trying to use so many devices together. So just by a small spike, look at the damages that have been done. So all these are like precautionary method one has to take, and this can be taught in a proper way to the organization, and it can happen like a preventive things in future, that when you start any organization or a thing, what type of precautions one should take. Just like a penny, this thing you will cut short somewhere and the whole thing goes off in the boat. And fire is again a incident where it burns all the evidence. It's very difficult to do the analysis, but somehow I have a very good liking for fire analysis because it's a very big challenge.
What would be an approximate cost of conducting a lie detector test?
In Helic, we are charging about 10,000 plus GST in the office, but if it is outside, then they have to give the travel charge and stay and other things, because all over India we are doing it.
Can we directly approach the forensic laboratory to use the resources regarding any case or privately?
No, no, forensic does not. I was the director there where I used to refuse, and the same thing will be happening. They do, government forensic laboratory does only cases which are registered by police. Thank you.